Hello, everyone, and welcome to another stream on Black Hood Crew channel. This is me driving to work again. Black Hood Crew on YouTube, uh, Facebook community page. My name there in the corner. I am Dark and Sturdy XX of the Black Hood Crew, host and chauffeur. By all means, follow along on YouTube, on Facebook, but also catch me on Twitch, Steam, Twitter, all at the same name, and as well find me on TikTok as same name there, as I post ridiculous, unnecessary, funny garbage I find. So it is now November 23rd? 23rd, yes. It is now November 23rd. It is a Tuesday, and it actually seems to be a very clear day as opposed to the past couple days here in South Florida have just been rainy as all hell. The absolute, like, rain so much you can't leave your house. Like, that's how it's been. But then again, it is hurricane season here for South Florida, which basically puts us smack dab in the middle of a target for all of the non-sunshine state weather. So it is what it is when it comes to the weather, but still on a average level, the weather here is almost always pretty nice, day and night. But we're always in the news because when it comes to, to hurricanes coming in from the Atlantic specifically, yeah, their first stop is almost always here. Now, if they continue on somewhere else, that's, that's up to the storm, how strong it is and where it's tracking, but not for nothing, we tend to be a magnet for these damn things. And it's not to say that other places don't get hit. Like, that's not what I'm saying. You have the Gulf Coast, which is for us on the west side of Florida, Gulf of Mexico. There are other states that border the Gulf. You got your Mississippi, your, Louisiana. You have these southern states that touch this particular body of water. Now, there are occasional build in the Gulf, but usually they're coming in from the Atlantic. So that's off the coast of Africa, east of here. They build up strength as they work their way west. You carried over by the Gulf Stream. And they proceed to make themselves particularly known. Usually when they get close, you got all your favorite weather stations, whether it's local or national. They're always tracking these things because of the fact that, they're big, they're powerful, they're slow moving, so they tend to stick around areas for a particular amount of time. And that's usually when they cause the most damage. We're talking about really scary storms. One I particularly remember was Hurricane Andrew. This was 1992. Was a Category 4 hurricane. Made landfall in South Florida. I was living in Miami at the time. We're further south from where I live now. Near southwest or southeast 8th Street, down there. And we had this huge on the corner, close to where I live. It was on a corner between, an avenue, a street, and then if the street kept going, it was a dead end. So right on the corner, there was this giant tree. Like, we're talking about a massive tree. And Andrew ripped this thing out of the ground. and laid it on its side. Now, thankfully, this tree didn't get picked up because, again, it was a mass tree, but Category 4 hurricane knocked this tree over completely, roots and all, ripped out of the ground. And I saw that. I was 6, 7, 8 years old. And I was just like, wow. Like, hurricanes can do that? Yes, they can. In fact, they tend to do much worse. You got a lot of the islands that are out in the Caribbean that tend to be magnets of their own. These places are not as well developed as, say, here in the U.S. in some cases. That's including Puerto Rico, Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic. You got the Bahamas. You got, Trinidad, Tobago. Like, you got a lot of these island nations there, Jamaica, that when these storms roll through, it is absolutely devastating. And we're in the season for them now. So by all means, prepare as you need to, gather supplies as you need to, prepare accordingly, but just know that it's that time of year. Somebody has like a pile of clothes middle of the street. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah, so it's getting to be that time of year where you're going to start seeing storms as they come in, and given the current state of climate change, not for nothing, we're going to see more storms develop, more named storms going forward. And, unless we get our act together, this is going to become an issue going forward where, we're just going to see consistent storms of no less than Cat 3 every year. And, Cat 4 is very dangerous. 5 is the highest right now, according to the current models. But yeah, we're going to start seeing consistently stronger and stronger storms unless we get our act together. Now, if anybody doesn't know what hurricanes do, at least from a natural standpoint, is they assist in cooling the planet that is currently being heated up due to us. Global climate change is not just a heating or cooling. It is a change in the natural order of the weather through our own means. So we are causing these changes, whether they be cooler or hotter. That's why it's called climate change, not global warming, how it used to be called, or global cooling or whatever. Now it's climate change. Because as science advances and becomes more, as more information is become known, it's studied, the changes are seen, it's becoming more and more apparent that our act over the past, I would say, last 100 years or so, maybe a little more, as well as our current inaction, is what's causing these changes, is what's causing this situation that we're in right now, where you have places that are normally hot are getting hotter. Places that are normally cold are getting colder. But you also see the flip side. Places that are normally hot are getting abnormally cold, while other places that are normally abnormally cold are getting hotter. Perfect example. This past year, Texas had a snowstorm so bad, it knocked out their electrical grid. Yeah, Texas. But then on the flip side, a couple ago, you had the northern ice melt polar bears grasping onto what little pieces of ice or whatever they can to get out of the water. This is a global effect. This is going on everywhere, and the effects are wide ranging. None of it good. None of it is good. So, I mean, we definitely need to get our act together, not just in this country, but on a global scale. This is something that affects us all. This isn't, this is only an American problem. This is only a European problem. This is only a Chinese problem, a Russian problem, an African problem, an Australian problem, Central South American problem, like Canadian problem. This isn't something that is just apparent to one particular country or one particular region of the world. This is a global issue. And the effects are being felt on a daily basis. Thankfully, some of us have conveniences like air conditioning for when it gets really hot, heaters for when it gets too cold. Anyway, but not everybody has those kinds of privileges, those luxuries, depending on where they are in the world, how their economies are set up, how their countries are set up. Some of them don't have access to that. So instead, they have to make do with what they got. And sometimes that's nothing. I mean, there's a lot of countries out there, specifically ones in the path of the hurricanes, like these island nations, where, they're not as well developed as, say, we are here. They don't have the infrastructure that we have, even though ours needs a massive overhaul. But even our crumbling infrastructure as it stands right now today is still far and above better than some of these other places that, a category 1 or 2 hurricane completely devastates them. God forbid they get hit with something stronger than that. And because of their proximity to the ocean, they are basically the first target, even though people always want to talk about Florida being hit and all that stuff. Like, yeah, we get it. But there are other nations between here and, the birthing place of these hurricanes off the Western African coast. They're the ones that take these things usually at their strongest. But they have a habit of getting hit with the full brunt of these storms. And they end up in positions where we're talking about, lots of lives lost, property damage in the millions, tens of millions, even more, while also it's almost never broadcast here. And when it is, it's like there's never any real urgency to assist these people, Even if it's a place like Puerto Rico, which Puerto Rico is not a state, even though it should be. But it's part of the United States. Their citizens are American citizens. They get a Social Security at birth. You don't need a passport to travel to Puerto Rico. You know what I mean? Like, they're basically a state when it comes to certain privileges of the U.S. government, but not seen as one when it comes to anything else. It's a very weird place for them. Puerto Rico definitely should be a state, and yet disasters occur there, and Nobody wants to pay it any mind. Nobody wants to put in the work, because those are American citizens. That would be the equivalent of having a storm land in like Oklahoma, Idaho. That would be the equivalent of having a storm land in like Illinois. Like they should be treated by the government as they were a state, a full-fledged state, and might as well just get it over with and do it. Simply because, yeah, for all intents and purposes, they are a state. They're just not recognized as one because of, whatever bureaucratic, let me get the words out, bureaucratic nonsense that they want to spew out. So, I mean, at this point, all we can do is help out those that are less fortunate than us, even if it is another place that is not, say, part of the continental United States. We worry about Hawaii. Hawaii is, thousands of miles off the west coast of the United States in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. And yet, something happens to Hawaii and, they're on it like white on rice. They're right there. Something happens in Alaska. Alaska is technically not directly connected to the United States either, but it is the 49th state. And again, something happens in Alaska, right on top of it. So come on, it's not like we can't. What it's become is an outright refusal. But again, when these things occur, specifically these storms, these hurricanes, when they come in, it's something that it's something that needs to be addressed from the source. And the source is us. We are indirectly, or in some cases directly, responsible for these, not only for the amount, but also the intensity. That's our responsibility. And not just here in the United States. Again, like I said, this is a global issue. This is going on everywhere. Whether it's a hurricane or what they call it, in China, Japan, typhoons. This is something that we created. We're causing these issues or causing this climate change ourselves. Man-made climate change. It's a real thing, the real deal, and we're going to continue to see the effects of it going into the future. Now, you're going to be sitting there and going, well, I don't see the evidence, or what can we do about it? I'm just one person. Look, when it comes to something like this, it needs to start somewhere. Just like any movement, just like any protest, just like any riot, when it comes to anything, it starts somewhere. It starts someplace. Usually it starts with one. Movement starts with one person taking a stand and saying enough is enough. I am tired of living in a world that neglects climate change, that neglects, those less fortunate, that gives passes when it comes to the judicial system for who, what, where, why, whatever. A stand needs to be made, and it starts with one. It starts with one person getting up and saying, enough's enough. Let's do something now. Because we should have been doing something 15, 20 years ago, even more. But the mentality back then wasn't like how it is today. And that's where we're running into the problems. The issues of today were the negligences of yesterday. The I'll leave it for tomorrow from yesterday. The I'll take care of it in the morning. The I don't have time right now. But we're gonna have to make time. We're gonna have to take care of it now. Because at the end of the day, this is our own lives. This is our own futures. Not just in this country, but on a global scale. This is something that we need to tackle now. Because of what we're going to see start to occur. And that's literally everything falling apart. Agriculture is being affected almost directly by this. Places you normally would be able to farm with ease are now becoming more difficult because of the climate change. And plants are uniquely sensitive to this because of their connection to the environment. They are part of it. They are part of the ecosystem, and they're uniquely attuned to these changes in the climate. So yeah, we can see crops, we can see fruits, all types of stock, any kind of produce products. We're going to see this change occur, and it's going to be in the negative. We need to be working on getting away from that which harms the environment, the products, the pollution, things of that nature, which, if you really think about it, we would be better off working on it than not. I mean, that would literally create so many jobs if we spent more time, more of an effort into combating climate change. So many jobs out there, just waiting to be created, waiting to be started, waiting to be filled by the qualified, by those who want to make that change. And like I said, that's one new job in combating climate change, one new job in renewable energy, one new job in solar power, one new job in whatever. That's how it starts. That's how change starts. It starts with one. We can all do we can all do something. Recycle. Make an effort to lessen the use on your personal vehicle. Going around the corner, ride your bike. Walk. Great. Get reusable bottles. I got one. I use it every day. Fill it with water, done. And it holds a lot too. So, and it keeps it nice and cool. That's something you should look forward to, like a good, bottle, reusable, something that can use constantly that keep your drink cool when it's hot, or keep your drink hot when it's cool. Try to mix it two up though. Just little things you can do. If you're someone who is in a position to, to make a bigger change, like converting to an electric vehicle. Teslas aren't the only ones around. Honda, Toyota, Mercedes, BMW, everybody and their mother has an electric car. Yes, the initial upfront cost might scare some people away. I mean, not for nothing. A Tesla is $80,000 to $90,000 car, and that's base model. But think about something that you won't be doing with your stopping to get gas, money on gas, especially with the price of gas as it's going up now. You would actually be saving money in the long run switching over to an electric vehicle, whether it is a Tesla or any number of the others that exist from all the other car manufacturers. These are all things that can be done right now, to lessen the effect of climate change and then give our environment an opportunity to come back, because studies have shown that an environment that is no longer being impacted recovers, and it can recover, but we got to give it that opportunity. We got to give it that chance. So if that means doing everything you can, even in your everyday life, recycling, reusing, for those that are a little bit more affluent, switching over to an electric vehicle, these are all things that can be done now. All it takes is one, and from there it can get bigger. So I have arrived, I'm parked, literally entrance right there. So by all means, think about what was said today, and let's carry on the conversation next week, Monday. I will not be streaming the end of this week, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, do not expect a stream because I will be out of town for Thanksgiving. But again, we'll pick up the driving next week. I also have I have news for next week as well. So until then, be excellent to each other, and remember, follow along across all the social media, and I'll see you there.